On today's show, Disney has good and bad news at the box office. Wonder Woman might go to the 80s, and Tom Cruise is in the new Halo. I read that wrong. Tom Cruise does Halo jumps. Movie Talk starts right now.
You tricked me, Ellis.
Guy did a lot of Halo jumps.
Yeah.
A lot of Halo jumps. I'm starting to think he may not be all there. That is blow up inflata salesman Kristian Harloff. Over there is Jon Schnepp, the sweatiest of the sweaties. I am merely Mark Ellis. As you guys saw at the top of this show, we are going to be at amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con. It is that amazing with an exclamation point. That is at the end of the month. It's June 29th, 30th, and July 1st. It's going to be myself, Jon Schnepp, Perry Nemiroff, Dennis Zen, Frosty Weintraub, maybe some special guests as well. We're doing panels. We're going to do meet and greets. We're going to cover it. So if you're going to be around Las Vegas, if you're planning to go to Las Vegas, if you live in the Vegas area, come say hi at the Convention Center for amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. And speaking of cool Collider events, next week, E3 kicks off on Sunday, and it goes the entire week, and we're going to be covering so much of what goes down with the crew. Thanks to our new channel, Collider Gaming. Collider Gaming, you're going to have a whole lot of content about breaking news, new video games, all that good stuff. So check out Collider Gaming right now. And I would be remiss if I did not kick off this show with one more mention, and that would be the live Schmodown that happened this past weekend. Kristian Harloff, you and I were there on hand for everything. Obviously, we don't want to mention all the cool surprises and match results that came out, but your thoughts on the evening that was?
Oh, it was amazing to have all the support there from the fans, but also Tuesday and Friday is when the matches drop, this Tuesday and this Friday. But I just want to give a shout out to the crew. I want to give a shout out to Thad Williams and Dennis and Cody and Adam and Joey and Cobster and everybody, RB3, everybody who helped out. It was amazing, and it went off without a hitch, and I can't thank you guys enough.
It was a very good time. Jon Schnepp, you were on hand.
I watched from the back, so I didn't get to see the front view too much. So I'm going to actually have to watch the videos as well. But it was a lot of fun. It was a really fun time. So congratulations to both.
Thank you. And we're ready to announce the next date. It's September 8th. It's at the El Portal.
Is that public information?
That's public information. It's on sale now. Schmodownlive.com.
All right. Well, what else is on sale? Our solo tickets. There's not a whole lot of people buying them. But the good news for Disney is that Infinity War, that movie that came out a few weeks ago, is now set to cross the $2 billion mark at the worldwide box office. For reference, this would be the fourth movie to accomplish said feat. So before we get into the actual weekend box office results, Jon Schnepp, you hear that Infinity War crosses $2 billion. What does this do for the future of the MCU to you? Do you think this puts more pressure on the MCU to keep the characters they have in place, or does this give them more freedom to go wherever they want because people are clearly seeing these movies?
I think it gives them more freedom. I think, the hitting a $2 billion mark, I think they were kind of, once it went out of the gate the way it did, I think they were like, oh, we're going to, they're already, all their plans have already been set up. We don't know what their phase 4 is, but they do. So I don't think it's going to alter their plans. It might actually enhance their plans. Like, let's do that Howard the Duck movie. Let's, it might increase their ability to throw that role, I think. So I'm very excited and happy that they were able to make that $2 billion. Unfortunately, I don't make any of that money, but I do get to see more of their fun films. So, I guess we all win.
Yeah, that's all we really have. Kristian, do you agree with Schnepp that this is only going to encourage Marvel to go in more different creative, artistic endeavors?
Yeah, I do. And I think that's the reason, like that question you had posed as far as like, do you think that they could say, well, wait a minute, we're making all this money. Let's just stick to what we know is working here. That's what they don't do normally. Because they focus on story. They focus on narrative. They focus on where we need to go from A and how we get to B. And that's why they've been successful, because they've set this thing up and they started planning these seeds and going, okay, this will carry us all the way through here. Let's have this plan to hit this moment, and when we do, then we'll shift. It's not. They're not going to say, okay, part 2 comes out, and then what do we do? They already know, and that's, if they follow their plan, they have more money to do it now because they followed that plan, and it's more income to them to say, okay, now we can do that, and we didn't think we'd have enough budget to do that, but now we can get that person and do that, and maybe even do this now.
Right, it creates more ability to take risks.
Yeah, right, exactly. They have to keep telling the story that they want to tell, because that's what's been successful, not them just saying, oh, well, we can get Robert Downey Jr. for another 40 films.
Right, and I think the greatest thing about their continued continuity is that we're never going to, I don't feel like whatever happens with Avengers 4 and how they move on, people are going to have this history now of like 19 or 20 other films where it's actually a continual story, which is continuous. So I feel like them moving forward and taking risks is how we're going to see it.
But I mean, you can go with both ways with this too, is that, you're very excited to see what what the continuation of the story is, but part of the reason why we get so excited to see where the next movie goes is because these are characters that we now know and love, and they're going to be put in different positions. That was part of the appeal of Infinity War, is to see these now classic characters that we've known for 9 or 10 years interact with the newer characters like a Black Panther.
Of course, and that's the beauty of it, and that's the planning, and that's the trust in the audience and the trust in your storytellers to say, I can set up here, I can give you this character in Guardians, characters that no one knows in Guardians, and then they're like one of the standout roles in Infinity War, and you're rooting for them and you're caring about them. Same thing with Black Panther, pretty much, a movie that up until Infinity War, it had set all these records and done all this stuff. It still has, for when it came out in February, the amount of money that it made was because it was such a good movie. They trusted in their filmmaker, in their character, in their story, and now he is a very well-known character. But you've got to set up, and that's why plans and story are crucial. You can't just kind of say, well, we'll just do this one here and then hope that one works there, because it didn't work with DC. It ain't working with Star Wars. And it's got, like, when you do it if you do it this particular way, it's longevity. You can hit box office numbers for a couple movies, but if you want longevity, you got to plan it out this way.
I was going to say, like, even with the introduction of Doctor Strange, a lot of people were like, he's very similar to Tony Stark. And then the payoff is to see them go, head to head in Avengers Infinity War, where you see they're both kind of douchebags. They both have like a very strong personality. They're not willing to back down. So I feel like with Star Wars, I personally don't feel like Solo is a failure. Maybe it's a failure box office wise, but that's because of their marketing and going head to head with Avengers Infinity War and Deadpool 2. Remember, Deadpool 2 was supposed to come out this weekend. They moved it up an entire 3, or I think it was 4 weeks. And so it's like, Star Wars was like, well, should we just push to December? Maybe they should have, maybe they shouldn't have. But at this point, I feel like the way the marketing and the whole rollout and everything about like the switch out with directors, that already had that kind of stink on Rogue One when we heard about that. But it was like subdued, and there was teasers out a year before. I feel like the way everything happened with Solo, I enjoyed the film.
Well, that's the thing.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the film. It's like, it's not the greatest Star Wars movie, but it's a really fun film.
Solo is, again, people, because I didn't give it a raving review, think I hate it. I don't. I think it's fine. I've seen the movie twice, and it's fine. It's enjoyable. But it's not a movie that should have come out in May, and it's also not the movie that should have come out as the fourth or fifth movie out of this new regime. You should have saved that. You should have waited, because you got it exactly going back to this whole Marvel conversation. You got to punch.
Everyone's into this new trilogy. Get that one done first. I feel.
Well, but I mean, even the trilogy alone, and this is a whole other conversation, and we talked about it in depth on Jedi Council, was that it's with The Last Jedi and even that new trilogy. The problem is consistency and having a plan from, even if it's a matter of having different directors.
There's not one person holding the story like, this is what happens in all 3.
But if I hire a director, let's say I'm going to bring on Jon Schnepp to do one of the movies, right? And I'm going to say, look, here's the blueprint that we're going to do for this entire trilogy.
And I totally change it and throw it away.
But it's not even changing it. I don't think there was ever a blueprint.
No, there wasn't.
I think there was more or less like, JJ did this. Now here you have this. Do what you want to do. As opposed to and that's not on Rian Johnson, though.
No.
That's not on Rian Johnson. Like, Rian Johnson said, everyone blames Rian Johnson. Like, you ruined it. He was given a platform.
Passed the baton.
He was given something and said, you do what you want to do. Whether you like his vision or not, that's on you. But but the thing is, it's a matter of, creative should have said, we need to start from A and get to B. That's the whole thing, and that has not happened yet.
Sorry, I love the scene with Luke sucking that blue milk, like, I mean, some people are so angry about certain scenes. I'm like, come on, you got to just enjoy the weirdness.
I mean, that's a whole other
with the Star Wars stories. It's interesting to see how much Marvel and Star Wars are actually in the same boat going forward, because with Episode 9, you're going to have a movie that primarily now relies on the newer characters that have been introduced in this trilogy. The same thing could be said eventually for Marvel movies, because you're going to be relying on your Black Panthers and your Doctor Stranges potentially, and your Captain Marvels more so than the characters that.
See, I'm going to go the other way for a little bit on Episode 9. I think Episode 9, because of things that have happened with, whether it's not necessarily backlash or differences of opinion, if you will, I think Episode 9 you're going to see some familiar characters. I mean, familiar characters that we haven't seen or mentioned,
like Force ghosting characters.
Maybe so,
you
or
might
maybe
see
even
familiar characters. Look, I think Luke's showing up in blue. Okay, Han Solo Solo ain't walking through that door.
I hope not.
Carrie Fisher's not walking
No.
through that door. So you may have characters show up. It might be nice to see Lando or Wedge or somebody like that, but they're not going to be the crux of selling the movie in the same way that the big three were with Force Awakens or with The Last Jedi. Same thing with Marvel, is that after whatever happens with the next Infinity War, eventually you're going to have to matriculate past this current crop of characters. So, but you guys say that you have a lot more confidence in Marvel telling the story going forward than you do Lucasfilm,
No.
or do you think that Lucasfilm can extend that into 10, 11, and 12 as well?
I have utmost confidence in Lucasfilm and all the people, all the teams that they have, like Jon Favreau's team on the Star Wars TV shows.
Oh, yeah.
Ultimate confidence in that. I have a lot of confidence in the Game of Thrones guys to do what we're all hoping for, Knights of the Old Republic.
Well, not Knights. They're not going to do Knights. Like
Some derivation of the
I think
ago.
I think years and years ago. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's not like the Old Republic, but like thousands of years in the past.
I'm
like
cool
just-
with
yeah,
as
me
long
too.
as it's not now. It's like that's what I want to see from those guys.
When I saw Rogue One of the most intriguing things about that movie was the planet Jeddah and like that temple or that statue had.
Yeah, that we didn't get enough of.
So
So
Jedi.
There's a lot of cool stuff to see in the
yeah.
Star Wars world. So I don't have any fear. There's no. We're not going to run out. We know from like reading the comics, reading the books. There's an entire universe that's
That's the
not
thing,
even
though.
touched.
But that's the difference, though. There should be a fear because here's the difference as well. You look, DC also has a very, it has so many great villains, has so many great stories to tell. The creative that has been there so far hasn't worked in the way that everyone kind of hoped
Fear
it
leads
would.
to anger.
But that's what I mean. There's like so DC's got way better villains than Marvel, and a lot of and
Right,
and
but they haven't been able to-
they haven't been able to execute
Yeah.
it. So yes, there was all this material inside of Star Wars, but can they execute? That's why I bring up Solo, because when you have stuff like that, the thousands of years before and all these different stories,
Right.
and you choose to do Solo, you don't trust in the overall library that you have. You just want to go with the familiar right away. And that's what I mean, like tell the story. Like tell what you, because I don't believe in this. Well, it's too inside baseball. Fans aren't going to understand that. Fans didn't. If that was the case, then Guardians of the Galaxy would have never come out. You have to trust in what these characters are and what the lore is, and if you can make it cool. Anybody, like if you've put out the right trailer, the right director, the right actors inside of telling this story and this narrative, you can make anything work if you do it the right
Did
way.
your
And that's
guys'
what they need to do.
confidence increase with Boba Fett? Like I know we've had, like I want a Boba Fett movie, you don't.
But they didn't
like,
announce that though.
I know they didn't,
Yeah.
but I'm saying when you heard James Mangold is writing and directing, even though that's not official, did you guys both get more excited about it?
Not at all. No,
Really?
I got excited for about 5 minutes, and I don't hate the idea of a Boba Fett movie. I think there's a cool story to tell. I'd rather see it as a streaming service or something, because I agree with Kristian there that I think that you're just relying on these famous characters that have already been out there. Where I understand the fear of going somewhere in a new, different direction, but especially after what happened with Solo at the box office, I think that if you can't tell a story that gets the worldwide box office to look at you, and Solo couldn't do that, how is Boba Fett going to do that? So I would rather have that story of bounty hunters and
Yeah.
Boba Fett leading it land on the Disney streaming service.
Well, the other thing, I don't know if we talked about this on Council versus a conversation I had in my life. I can't remember anymore. But I believe it was on Council. I think Joseph Scrimshaw.
Your life
was
is just
one that brought it
one
up.
big hurricane.
It's Star
Scrimshaw.
Wars.
Scrimshaw. I
Yeah,
like saying that name.
yeah.
Scrimshaw.
But I think
That's a good
though,
beer.
Yeah.
but and I can believe it was him. What would be cool, what I would be theatrically, if they really focused on the criminal underworld in general in Star Wars, and
Yeah.
that was the movie, and
that was the
it's
TV
certain-
series. Remember, it's called Underworld.
Yeah, that's what was coming out. But like, and there's something again. I'm not going to assume that everyone's seen Solo. There's something that happens towards the end of Solo that would also say, well, you can put those particular
Right.
people in this movie and see where that goes. You could see where Jabba and Boba Fett and all those and what they're doing, more underground stuff. There's all these crime syndicates and things that we learned, Mandalorians and how they kind of tie in. If you did that kind of stuff and you did like a criminal underworld, that was the focus of it, like a gangster Star Wars movie. And Boba Fett just happens to be kind of like the lead going on this adventure.
Right.
I'd be into it. I just don't want to see like, well, then Boba Fett, after he found out he was a clone, he was sad. And then after he
Right.
was sad, then he met some friends. And then he met some... It's like, I don't want to see that crap. I don't care about
you might
that.
see that with the Mangold films. They're calling it Boba Fett, but when it comes out, it could be called in Star Wars something else. Yeah, we know it's like Boba Fett, a bunch of other bounty hunters. It could be like the Magnificent Seven, only evil. I mean, it's like, who knows what they're going to do.
Well, you heard it here first. Kristian Harloff does not want Boba Fett to have friends. Sorry, Boba. Well, Solo was number one at the box office this weekend, but it made under $30 million. So if you're keeping score at home, it still has not crossed the opening weekend grossing numbers of Rogue One, a Star Wars story that came out a couple Christmases ago. Deadpool 2 is hanging in very strong, $23 million. So that already has grossed $254 million domestically. We mentioned Infinity War Adrift was number 3 at $11 million. And a smaller movie that came out that a lot of people are saying you should rush out and see is Upgrade. Upgrade did not crack the top 5, but it was number 6 with $4.5 million. Hearing a lot of good things about that movie. Hopefully we'll have a review on Schmoes later on this week. In the meantime, we move on to our next story, and that is the Silver and Black movie. The movie is going back to the drawing board. Now, we touched on this last week briefly, that Silver and Black would be in the Sony cinematic universe, kicking off with Venom, and then it goes into something else. You had the Spider-Man Homecoming movie, but it's hard to consider that part of this universe, Schnepp, when they really want to get some separation and have Venom be the star character and maybe have Tom Holland pop in there somewhere is what we're hearing rumors. But with Silver and Black completely taken off the release date schedule for Sony, that caused a lot of panic last week. So if you hear it's just going back to the drawing board, that was the quote is actually with Silver and Black, when you're doing a film of that magnitude, it's got to be right. And if it's not right, we collectively decided to go back to the drawing board and start over. That's going to take some time. That is from director Gina Prince-Bythewood, from our own Colliders, Christina Radish. It doesn't sound like it's good news right now for Silver and Black. Is there any silver linings?
That was good.
You.
We're going to have to wait for a while, and that you guys can all go see Upgrade because it's awesome. I just want to throw that in there. I was very happy that it made them even top 6. It's incredible. Rush out and see that in the theater because you're not going to be able to see Silver and Black ever. I think it's off the drawing board. It's been like scrapped. I think if they're going to do something with those characters, they're going to change it. It won't be called Silver and Black. They're probably going to keep her as the director, but they're going to completely transform the script, and you'll see it coming back probably after Venom comes out, back on the drawing board or back slated as something else. And that's all due to how much Venom makes. I mean, I think everyone's sort of like, let's ease back on the production of all these films. They're shooting Spider-Man 2 right now. Let's see what happens. We know that the Marvel adjacent stuff is happening. We got Venom. We don't know what's going to happen, box office wise. So I think that's the kind of putting the brakes on it is, they were all scheduled to go, and then we keep hearing, script problems, this, that, and the other. It's like Fantastic Four 2. It's like, it just disappeared. So, and then you never heard about it again. Oh, it was on the slate. It was going to be released. No, it's not. So
I'd rather have you wait and get the script right than just make the movie and come out. But I don't think that in any small way this was related to the lukewarm reaction that everybody's had to Venom. Even if you didn't hate the trailer, even if you liked what they did with the trailer, and I thought it was fine, it didn't grab the world. It didn't really get people excited about Venom. So Venom could be a movie that comes out and underwhelms a lot in September. Do you think that is related in any way to Silver and Black being taken off the table for right now, Christian?
Maybe. I don't know who the mindset of the people running stuff over there. So, it's easier to say when you know somebody and be like, well, they're reactionary and they're doing this, but I don't know who those people are. So I don't know what kind of conversations are being had, but it's funny to hear the lukewarm stuff on Venom. I think it looks awesome.
I think it looks great. I think it's going to be a massive hit. I feel, I agree with I'm in the Venom camp of it. It's going to be a really incredible film.
I hope so. I mean, it looks cool. And
I've got high hopes for it.
Yeah, Tom Hardy's one of my favorites, so I look forward to seeing what he's going to do.
I think Silver and Black, the reason it got taken off is they're trying to do something else.
I go back to what
they've got another story they want to tell.
Maybe so. And I go back to what you said before, too. I think that a lot of times, a lot of these studios jump the gun and say, this is coming out, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. It's like, you don't have to stick to it and go, well, we're not confident with this script. We're not confident with what's happening right now. Let's just put it out and hope for the best.
Right.
That's a disaster.
Yeah,
a lot of studios do
I know.
that. And the fact that they said, just take it off. Just take it off.
Smart.
Let some people, because the majority of people who are having backlash are the fans of the material. And honestly, I don't know this property. It's not to say I don't want to see it. Because again, going back to what we just said, put a good trailer out and everything else, and I want to see it. But get this stuff right. Just get it right.
She's directed the pilot of Cloak and Dagger. She's a very competent director. I don't think she's doing damage control. I think she's like, look, the script wasn't ready. I could have shot it. I could have shot it, but I don't. She's one of the people who was like, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's get the script right.
Yeah, and Gina said that I might go work on another project.
Yeah, why not?
Well, her ass is on the line.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the one to do. Her career is really. I mean, granted, the pilot but she's not a well-known director yet. So it's like when it comes to stuff like this is like this is your career. This is what you have to do.
It's your first one out the gate. They're going to judge you. Success, failure.
Like you look at someone like Ryan Coogler, right? And you look at directing, the matter of design of what you need to do in order to succeed in this business. You have to design your career masterfully. You come out the gate with something like Fruitvale Station, which you put it's the low budget. You put your heart and soul, and you just crush it out the gate to show what you can tell, how you can tell a story, and then you get the next one, and then you get the next one. And you build. Too many people jump in. If you look like what happened with Gavin Hood, right, who did a brilliant film called Satsi, and then he got thrown into
incredibly awesome violent film.
It's a great movie, and then he got thrown into Wolverine Origins, or whatever the hell that movie was, and bullied by the studio. Just got his
behind the scenes stuff. Severe bullying.
His fault as a director.
No, it's not at all.
That's my point. No, that's my point. Is that because you don't have enough power, you don't have enough of being able to build your resume yet. You haven't. He jumped into that second role right away. He
but
took
what are you
the
supposed
shot.
to do as a director?
Well, as a director, what you can do is you got to find a way with the script and whatever's happening. Wolverine's a different situation because it's Wolverine, right?
Yeah,
you want to take
this
that
is also,
shot.
This is Sony, and they're offering you a comic book movie. I think that as a young director who might be trying to pay your rent, you have to take those opportunities.
And I'm sure he took it with all the best intentions, but it kind of derailed him a little bit.
But with the Sony conversation, what I'm saying is going off of Schnepp's point, where she's saying it's not just her. She's got to have conversations with the Sony execs. Like, cool, push it back, everything too. I don't want her to make her seem like I'm not doing it. Right. So it's like, okay, they've got to have those conversations too. But my point is that, because let's say go back to the Gavin Hood thing. Fox was like, no, we're doing it this way. And as a director, you took the job, you got to do it. And he just kind of got steamrolled. But it seems like they're all coming together going, let's push it back.
Right.
Let's see what happens. And then we'll put it out there if we can, or never, and do something else together.
And I was going to say, if you read between the lines of what she said, she was basically saying, look, we've had meetings. I would have done it, because she was talking about how you can shoot a film while they're rewriting it, because it's happened countless of Jon Favreau. Iron Man 1 and 2 were being shot continuously while they were getting new pages every day. Both films were rewritten entirely on the set. So I mean, that happens. Is that good for the crew? Is that good for the actors? Is that good for the director? Hell no. That's horrible. That's a horrifying situation to be in, while you're like, here's the new dialogue. All right, go. It's like, you don't want to be in that kind of situation. So I feel like, reading between the lines, she was like, we had meetings, no one wanted to be there. I could have done it, is basically what she was saying. So I'm going to go direct something else, but I'm going to come back to this. So I feel it's like it was a very like party line.
Yeah. I think it's Sony preparing for whatever the response to Venom is, and I think they're going to see what the fans respond to in Venom, if they respond to any part of that movie, and that's the way that they take the universe going forward, which I'm not sure is the best angle, but you're going to give the fans what they want, or at least you're going to attempt to give the fans what they want. I don't know that is the thing to have in place of a solid story going forward. I don't know what happened to this current story, but it's interesting to see with Venom, its release date is October 5th. And so you're right, Schnepp. It could be a hit because it could come out. It definitely has horror elements from the trailer. That's how they're trying to sell this movie. So it could be that horror movie that comes out in October that just continues to gain steam as long as you get up to Halloween. But there's another movie coming out around Halloween called Halloween, and that's October 19th. Yeah. So Venom, the week before Venom, is Night School. It's Kevin Hart, Tiffany Haddish comedy. That should do pretty well. Then October 5th, it's between Venom and the Oscar contender A Star Is Born, which is very different audiences probably. And then October 12th is Goosebumps Haunted Halloween. So going to be interesting to see what wins the box office in October. Yeah. Mowgli comes out the following week. Very excited about Mowgli. Well, a movie that we thought we were going to have a little bit more to talk about this morning was Wreck-It Ralph 2. We don't have the trailer yet, so all we got is a poster. We'll cover the trailer tomorrow. In the meantime, we have the poster. Kristian, do you think they should show us any footage in this trailer that's about to come out that is new to us, being the gentleman who saw a lot of footage at D23? Do you give away what we saw at D23?
It's that one particular scene you're talking about, right?
They released an image last week of the Disney princesses.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want them to show
that scene.
I don't want the fans to see that scene. I wish I wouldn't have seen that scene. It's so good, and you want to experience that scene in the theater, and because they show
not even a hint.
Right, because I saw a picture.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, they already put the picture out.
No, they put the picture out, but the attitude.
Yeah.
Is something I don't necessarily.
I don't want to see it. Now that you guys have said that, now I might have to not see this trailer.
I don't want to see it. I mean, I think
they better not put that in. You guys better not put that in the trailer.
They might.
I'm gonna be pissed off.
They might.
Taking it out.
Take that out right now.
That's what I'm saying. They get so nervous sometimes. They really feel like, well, maybe they won't come see it, because then it's also, talk about reactionary. Well, we thought Star Wars was going to do all this stuff too, and maybe people aren't going to see it. Maybe we have to market it with this instead. It's like, market it off what made the last one
Wreck-It
so
Ralph
sweet.
was great.
Ralph and his relationship with Penny, right? Mm-hmm. And the gimmick alone in this movie that they're going through the internet is enough. Like, sell me on that. Don't sell me what happens inside of that particular
Hey
scene.
guys,
I don't
is
need
this
it.
spoilery? Is Kubert back in there? Because that's really,
I don't remember.
that's really
I think
all I
he
care
is.
about.
I don't remember. I don't
So
remember.
Vanellope is Sarah Silverman's
Vanellope,
character.
right.
Kubert's probably going to show up at some point, but I think the genius of this movie, or at least the premise, would be the fact that it's Ralph in the internet. And
Sure.
seeing Ralph walk in, we even got that from the teaser trailer that's been released. It's just like seeing all like the pop-up ads that fly.
Right.
I think there's so much in there to sell this movie anyway. The trailer's going to drop in the next day or so, and then ostensibly you will see it every screening of The Incredibles 2. You're going to see Wreck-It Ralph 2 trailers, and kids are going to see that. It's a perfect marketing ploy, right?
This is probably the smarter version of the Emoji Movie. Like, Emoji Movie should have done what they're doing. Like, we're inside the internet and all
Right.
that's kind of just, that is what they should have done.
Well, they did it. They just did it terribly.
Right. So this is
Yeah.
probably the right way to do it.
All right, here's a hot take for our next story. Tom Cruise may be batshit insane. The guy did 100 Halo jumps for the movie Mission Impossible Fallout, and it's detailed in a new video that was just released. 100 Halo jumps. If you don't know what a Halo jump is, then you may not be in the military, because that's primarily what they're used for, is to get operatives into foreign countries without being detected. High altitude, low opening is what Halo stands for, not the video game starring Master Chief. Tom Cruise did so many of these things. They had to build a special mask for him so he wouldn't die. I know the guy loves pleasing the audience. Schnepp, you watch this video. Do you get because Tom Cruise always has this thing, he doesn't want to cheat the audience. The audience knows when you're being cheated. Yeah, we can kind of tell, but dude, we want you alive,
Right.
Tom.
I always feel like I'm gonna one day wake up and get that news. Because of that dude is scaling the sides of cliffs with no. He's like, oh, I'm always mountain climbing. I'm like, just seeing that footage with just chalk on his hands. He's just hanging there, hey. I'm like, you're crazy.
We almost got that news last year when he severely damaged his rib.
It's in the film. That shot of him, they kept you see the little foot get all snappy. You're like, dude, it's like. So I feel like eventually we're gonna see that. But hats off to the guy. I mean. Say what you will about all his other films, but I love the Mission Impossible franchise. Every film gets better and better. And now that they have this team with him and McQuarrie doing the second film in a row, I'm just I don't even want to see any more footage. I don't want to see. They keep revealing more trailers. I'm like, look, dude, you sold me. I'm gonna see it. I don't want to. Don't tell me more about it. That's me though. Some people love seeing all the footage. I mean, I like spoilers. That's what I like. I like hearing about the story. I don't want to see it visually. I want to be visually wow. So. These films are always like that. Here's some new stunts. That's cool. The guy's crazy. He's putting his life on. How old is it? 53, 54? 50,
Something like that.
I don't even know. It's
older than that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to go out that way, maybe he's like, look, I'm going to jump off the Eiffel Tower and maybe my parachute doesn't work. Don't do that, dude.
Yeah. It's more than that, though. I mean, does he like to please the audience? Yeah. The guy's a thrill seeker.
Yes.
That's all it is. He's a thrill seeker. And the fact that he can get paid for it and they can shoot it. Because he probably is jumping off a cliff right now. He's just not taping it. It's like he's a thrill seeker.
Yeah,
I mean, there
totally.
are tons of people like this, and he just happens to be a movie star. Another guy like that was Jackie Chan. And Jackie Chan had a
I think
different...
you're going to say Jackie Gleason. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, right. Jackie. Yeah.
He literally went to the moon.
Thrill seeker.
He was on, but that's what I mean, though. Thrill seeker. There's a amount of cigars he smoked. But that's my point, is that he likes to do this stuff, and it's you can just tell. You can tell somebody so many times, dude, you're almost 60 or whatever.
Yeah,
Stop
knock it
jumping
off.
around
Yeah.
on things. But
He's also the producer of the film.
Right.
He's like, let you do what I say.
Yeah, it's we only have so much insurance for you, man. Cut it out. in that aspect, I understand it, but he is a thrill seeker, and it's you just got. There's one way to do it. It's get him back to doing Jerry Maguire movies, to where he's not jumping around as much too. But that's why he keeps doing these movies, because he knows he can get paid to jump off of a train or something.
Right.
All right, let me give you guys this option. So we have the crazy stunt that he did in Mission Impossible. I'm not even going to count Mission Impossible 2, because you're not going to take that, but you're just hanging on a cliff by yourself. So I'm going to give you the last 3 Mission Impossible movies. You can either go up to the tallest building in the world, climb to the highest peak of it, and be standing up on that thing with the rig and stuff. In Mission Impossible 5, you can be tied to the side of an airplane as it takes off and lands, or you can do a halo jump. Which one would you feel most comfortable doing Jon Schnepp, Kristian Harloff.
None of it.
Yeah, I
You
would
gotta
say
do one,
if I had to pick one, I would pick this Halo jump thing because like that Dubai scene, I still think about it. I saw it in IMAX, and when he's like jumps off and scaling down, my stomach.
The movie had been released. It had been they finished shooting for some period of months, and I was nervous as hell for the guy.
Yeah,
I would
same
much
here.
rather take a risk by eating 2 cheeseburgers and having a whole bunch of Doritos and slamming it down and because I have bad cholesterol. So I would rather do that. That would be the risk I would take watching all of this.
That's the
I wouldn't-
Jackie Gleason risk.
Yeah, that's the risk I would take. I would start firing down like food I can't eat anymore.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that I would do. That's the risk. Watching someone do this. No,
Sure.
thank you.
I would go with the airplane one because you're just strapped to an airplane. Like there's no real movement there.
Slamming into the side, your face is smashing against it. No, thank you.
Yeah,
Come out
but
with
at
a
least
bunch
it's
of
your
broken
parachute
bones.
too. You're
Right.
like, hey, the parachute better work. It's not on me.
Yeah, and you weigh
so.
like $130 wet with boots on. You'd be like slamming, and you go right through the thing.
Jackie Gleason's in The Honeymooners. I saw it on a
Yeah,
rerun.
Jackie Gleason.
Okay,
nice. Back
Patty
to the future.
Jenkins, thank you very much.
Art Carney.
Has changed their. Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johnson, they both changed their header images on Twitter, which is how a lot of people like to give out some movie scoops now. And that header image is WW84, which seems to indicate that Wonder Woman is going to be going not to George Orwell's fantasy novel, A Harbinger of the Future, or the Great Van Halen album. It's that she's going to be running around in the 1980s. Schnepp, you get this hint. What does this immediately do to your comic book centric brain?
It makes me think of Flock of Seagulls songs and Duran Duran and Human League. You know what I'm talking about, baby. It makes me very, very happy because when I first heard rumors that they were going to move her forward in time, but like she's not going to be in the present day. Hey, why not do the 80s? I think it's fantastic. It's the Cold War. It's all these different elements that the character can play into, and it sets it up for the trilogy where you start out. And then this is in the middle, and then when we do the third film, it's in the present. So I feel like that's hopefully the right way that they're going to go. I'm very, very happy that they're in 1984.
I am very slowly matriculating in the Americans viewing. I'm still on season 1, but like it takes place in the 80s and during the height of the Cold War, and there's Russian spies in America. It seems like a really nice premise for Wonder Woman. Then if you call the movie Wonder Woman 1984, you can obviously hint at political overtones and what that might mean to the world going forward with the DC universe or the world in general. How do you feel about that time period?
Oh, I think it could be done great. And if you see what Patty Jenkins did with the last one, put it in the World War I era, that was it worked brilliantly. But what I get nervous on the 80s, if you got to nail the 80s, I mean, you really got to hit the 80s because the 80s is that type of time period that if you do it wrong, it looks like costumes. It feels like a movie if you don't get it right. But if you get it right, like something like Stranger Things. Stranger Things feels like the damn 80s. I mean, it just does. Like the costuming, the way that the music kind of, it blends into the background. It doesn't overpower the material.
Right.
Because the music of the 80s is as much of a character in the 80s than anything else. So you're absolutely right. There's going to be a lot of music, but again, let it kind of blend in the back. And I think Atomic Blonde was in the 80s too. I think Atomic Blonde did it pretty well. Even though I didn't love the movie,
Sometimes the music overpowered it, but for a good reason.
well, yes,
you know.
that's the point. That the music itself was my biggest problem with that movie because it overpowered the movie, it overpowered the scenes, but the way that it was shot and the atmosphere alone felt like the 80s.
Totally.
So it's a perfect mixture of both of those. And I have confidence enough in Patty Jenkins that she's going to be able to pull that off.
Okay, so here's the question that I saw a lot of people worried about online is that if Wonder Woman's around in the 80s and solving some sort of crime or mystery or saving the world again, wouldn't we have footage of that? Wouldn't somebody become wise to this mysterious Amazonian woman that's running around and stopping bad guys?
Well, it could be the same as like when people are reporting on, Superman on Daily Bugle or Spider-Man. There's a weird blur or something. I mean, they could play it up that way. I don't know if they don't come to prominence, until Justice League. But I think,
Easier to avoid back then. There was no internet.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an easier thing as far as like, some people get some snap footage of her running or something and be like, I don't believe in that or whatever. Right. I think that's the easy play.
Yeah, you couldn't do that like, in 2000 or 99 because it's like everybody has a camera.
That's what I liked about the Incredible Hulk movie with Edward Norton when there's that fight on the college campus and it's like they have all this like grainy cell phone footage of this giant monster fighting. Right. You're not going to get that in the 80s, which is cool. I love the year 1984 for many reasons, and I'm excited about Wonder Woman if indeed it takes place during that period of time. We are going to save some time at the end of this show for your live Twitter questions. Go ahead and start tweeting us right now at Collider Video. Use the hashtag Collider Movie Talk, and I will remind remind y'all that later on today, Collider Heroes has an all-new episode hosted by the sweatiest of the sweaties, Mr. 1984 himself.
That's right.
Jon Schnepp. What's on tap?
I wore my fruit stripe gum shirt for y'all. Check it out. It's going to be a power pack, action pack, giant size special edition. Got all the hero sweaties on the show. Don't even want to ruin it for you. Just tune in later this afternoon. It's jam packed with sweatiness.
And like we said, we had the live Schmodown take place this past weekend on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. The Star Wars triple threat match is going to drop between Joseph Scrimshaw, Alex Damon, and Ken Knapsack. I had a blast calling that match with you. I cannot wait for all the fans to see that when it drops tomorrow. And a side note, I'm going to be in New York City this weekend doing some shows at New York Comedy Club. Just added the Comedy Cellar on Friday, and then I will be in Connecticut on Saturday. You can get tickets at markellislive.com. Look at that, beautiful. Thank you, Brian Ward. Good meeting, Brian Ward.
Yeah.
Brian Ward is a very talented dude. I was going to say, I just wanted to pimp. I'm going to be at Wizard World. I just got added this weekend.
World
I'll
of Wizards?
Yeah, next week in Columbus, Ohio. If you're coming to Wizard World this coming weekend, I'll be there sweating it out. So I don't even know what booth I'm at, but come say hi.
Columbus, Ohio. In Ohio, you can get beers to go when you leave a bar.
What?
You can't drink them in the car. You can get like a 6-pack.
You can
Roddy
do that
Piper.
in Chicago as well.
Roddy Piper once beat a wrestler from Columbus, Ohio, mercifully in Piper's Pit. Check it out on YouTube.
Nice.
Good plug there.
Yeah.
Okay. Time for our live Twitter questions.
Columbus, Ohio.
Jay Scott St. Clair kicks us off, and he says, if you could change the NPAA rating system to your own specifications, what kind of parameters would you make for film/film goers and why? So I'm giving you guys the keys to, do you make it PG-13? What are you allowed to have?
Getting rid of
PG-13?
NC-17 completely, because that's the dumbest thing that ever came out. That ruined a lot of people's lives, movies. People are like, what is NC-17? It's like, it's a hard R. Well, just call it hard R, you idiots.
Or X.
But X is like, oh, it's pornography. It's like deep penetration.
Brown Bunny can't be art.
You're right. I would label. I would have labeled a brown bunny hard R. I'm just saying, like,
I guess.
I know, and it's
Yeah.
but is it really X? X is like, when you hear X, you're like,
Dude, Brown Bunny is X.
look,
I would agree with Christian. You need a rating.
Well, you're picking one that's hard to fight against. So if you don't even know what we're talking about, watch Brown Bunny
Or don't.
No. What about Benny and June? Or like, there's
Right.
other
There are movies that
certain
have been
films
hit
where you're
in
like, there's a
1917.
sex scene, but it's
Right.
not like, hi, I'm the pizza man delivery. I heard your pipes need changing. It's not
Right.
like an X-rated film or triple X. It's like, I mean, I have Midnight Cowboy is rated X. It shouldn't be rated X.
Right.
I mean, if you went back in time, you should upgrade all the films. Like, Taxi Driver should definitely be rated X. I mean, there's so many things. If you haven't seen that documentary about the rating system and how all these things, how the MPAA really works, it's ridiculous anyway. I mean, so I feel like what gets cut and what doesn't get cut. It's like, just show that head getting crushed one frame less.
I'd kind of go off of that a little bit too. And that's just it's a thing in, I guess, in America in general. I think that we're too cautious about nudity and sex in general. But I mean, I think there's certain things like, again, Brown Bunny or some really graphic stuff that, that absolutely should be in the R category. But I think there's sometimes where there's sex scenes and things too that we get. Again, it's an American thing. We're just like, oh my God, somebody's nude. Oh my God, people are running around the beaches with their shirts off.
People freaking out. NC-17 just has this stamp of like, it's even worse than X. People just say, NC-17. It says, can't go see that. X-rated, I might take a chance. It's like, it's just a weird, dumb rating thing. I'd love to see them get rid of it. Just call it hard R. We're all grown-ups. I mean, I don't know.
Or oops.
Well, they y'all's minds
Oops would be a
went
good
right
rating.
to
Oops.
X and how many boobs and blood you can show, as opposed to like G versus
boobs and
PG.
blood. There you go.
Or
Just
look out.
new rating.
How about look out?
Look out, boobs and blood.
Well,
Oops.
that's what I always appreciated about like HBO back in the day, where they would tell you, like, the movie comes on and it says the following movie contains
this.
Right. It would either say V for violence or GV for graphic violence.
Right.
BN, brief nudity. Nudity. And then there's strong sexual situations.
Right.
They still do that on HBO. Every show.
Triple S.
Yeah.
Every show has that.
Yeah, that's what I would change. I would be more specific with why the movie is rated what it is rated. Okay, we move on to Mac, and he says, what do you think will be the next film to reach $2 billion at the box office?
The easy one is Infinity War 4.
Yeah.
Or whatever the hell, or whatever they're calling it, Avengers 4.
It's got to be the next one. I mean, it comes out next summer. I can't imagine
The
anything
next
else
one?
coming out other than the Meg. It's going to be doing $2 billion worldwide.
I think so. I think that one will do it. And I think that following up to, I do think episode 9 is going to do it. And I think episode 9, because, it's funny because the one thing, and I don't want to get into this a billion times over again too, I think that I was just even listening to Afterthoughts on Collider where they're saying they don't think that it has anything to do with the backlash in episode 8. I disagree with that. I do. I think that there's a hardcore core fan base that decided they didn't want to see Solo, right? And I took into it. But I do think that those people that didn't want to go see Solo for whatever reason, or maybe they just didn't want to see Star Wars that much in between, I think they're going to go see 9.
They're going to re-embrace it.
I think they're going to re-embrace it, and they're going to want to see how JJ changes the stuff. Now, they might come out of that going, well, he didn't change anything, and he just made it worse. Or they can go, yeah, he did. You know, it's. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but they're gonna. There's people who hated The Last Jedi that would not see Solo. We have to acknowledge that they did not want to see it. That they're going to see 9 and say, well, let's see if he's going to change the things I hate or if he's going to do some things I love. That's going to get people in the theater, and I think because of it, it's going to do some big box office. Star Wars is a different kind of fan base to where it's like they have a very core, hardcore fan base that if you lose them, you're going to take a hit, and I think Solo took a hit.
Well, I mean, I would agree with you, but like, you know, we had the Endor specials with Ewoks and stuff, and the people were like, all right, you know. Right. So people are willing to return, is all I'm saying. Even with the garbage prequels for myself that I hated, I was really excited about Force Awakens, and yes, it was basically a remake of the first trilogy.
But it's the material.
But it was so much fun, and it captured exactly what I liked when I was a kid, and that's what these movies are supposed to be. They're supposed to be a science fiction, fantasy, adventure that you're supposed to enjoy.
What you said before, though, too, when you were talking about all the materials that we knew, though, too, because you knew as a fan of this stuff that there's all this stuff that they can go into. Yeah. So the prequels didn't hit what you wanted them to hit, but you knew about all the other stuff that they could potentially do.
Pumpkin face Anakin, I don't need to see this.
But whatever it is, whatever. The point is that there's stuff out in the future that you were like, yeah, I'm going to go back and check it out because there's so much more that they can explore.
And there's so much stuff that JJ just kind of opened up that hasn't been touched on, at least in Last Jedi. Like, I mean, there's a lot of story elements. I keep hearing stuff like, I don't know if it's official, but it's going to take place 5 years from Last Jedi.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if that's official or not, but I would like that to be official because it gives a lot of time passage, and then we see these characters have grown. Just like all the original Star Wars movies are always like, opens on Hoth. Obviously, some stuff's gone down that we don't know about. I don't like it that it was like the right away. So I feel like maybe that was one of the problems with Last Jedi. It didn't really bother me that much, but when I think about it, I was like, time passage is really important in all of these movies. So hopefully they do that.
All right, so your answer is the next Avengers movie.
Yes.
We'll move on to our last
Couldn't stop talking about Star Wars.
We're getting a lot of, thanks to partially probably to the Afterthoughts guy, we're getting a lot of good questions today on Twitter. So I got one more, and I think I'm taking the populist one because this has been asked a couple different ways. One's from Peter, who says, is there any chance of Thomas and Martha Wayne appearing in Wonder Woman 1984? And then building up that, Eli the Creative says, would you want Wonder Woman 2 to reference the death of Bruce's parents? Now, you think of where Bruce Wayne is when we meet him. If that takes place in the modern day, then it would be, 84 would be right around the time that his parents, they either ate it in 1984 or they ate it a little bit earlier than that. Yeah.
Oh, you ate one too?
I think you do it the same way you did it in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. You know, like when you saw Charlton Heston kind of taking off in the background, it's just kind of a mention if you're paying attention to it, a nice little Easter egg.
It's like on the news or something like that.
It's like a nice little Easter egg. You don't make it relevant to the story.
I would even go further. I don't want to see it at all. I mean, I feel like that's the Batman, that's the Bat Reeves story. I would like to just see the Wonder Woman story. If there's a Wayne Tech thing in the background or whatever, the olden times, like 1984 logo, I'm cool with that. I would like to just see a logo.
All right, so no. Do you want to see any other DCEU characters in this?
I'd love to see other DCEU characters. I mean, maybe some 80s-centric ones. Let me think about it.
If it works, again, just broken record, if it works for the story.
Yeah.
Don't shoehorn it in there.
I would, in fact, I would like it to just be pretty much Wonder Woman and all of the people around her, the characters around her.
That's what worked for the last one. It worked for the last one.
All right, well, look, I hate to say this, but if you're Wonder Woman, you see Bruce's parents getting killed, don't stop it. Because if you stop them being killed, then you're preventing perhaps the greatest superhero of our era
changing everything.
Being born. So you're kind of changing the lore. So if you see the crime being committed, just let it happen. It's not going to be pretty.
Nice. You're encouraging murder. Nice guy.
Take it for what it is.
Because they ate it, right?
Yeah.
Because they ate it in the 80s. That's why you don't go to the opera. Go to the movies instead. Because that's what we talk about here on Movie Talk. I want to thank Kristian Harloff, Jon Schnepp for popping in here today. I am Mark Ellis. We'll be back tomorrow with a brand new episode at 9 a.m. PST. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.